at 6:33. Please rise for pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Start with Steve, please.
Steve Kozik. Vinny Cannadella. Michael Kusa.
Debbie Sherman. Stephanie Miller.
Joe Matisovich.
Okay. Thank you. Are there amendments to the agenda?
I'd like to add an executive session for school safety. Invite Dr. Miller in for after
Yeah, we'll do
11.
after 10, so in 11
Yep.
executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Oh, I need a second. Thanks.
Second.
Mike, second. And we're gonna, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Deb. That's why you're my right-hand man. Okay. All right. Student recognitions.
First of all, thank you parents and students for coming tonight. And the joys that I have is getting out to schools and have an opportunity to go to meetings, practices, and seeing our students live in action. Our students have done a wonderful job of getting to see all of our athletic director. He's going to assist us with awarding our students.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Coming from our boys and girls track meet, they did outstanding today. They're about 10 minutes from finishing.
Okay.
Some of those athletes that are on our track team are being acknowledged tonight, and they may or may not make it here in time. If they don't, I'm still going to acknowledge them, and I'll give them their certificates tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay, so we are going to start off with our cheerleading. As I call your name, come on up here, girls. X marks the spot, right? So we're going to line up right over here. Okay, so everyone, everybody, and then we will eventually take a picture with everybody. Okay, Gloria.
See, that's why he's the athletic director.
It's holding. All safe and Mike Kingsley, all state. Emma Bell, all state. And Chris Coy, she is all state, academic all state. She just finished running for that heat in the track meet, so I will hold this hopefully for you. All NDL, Kate Pilot. Sir, that's house. Ava, check. These are cheerleaders. One more round of applause. Yeah, right. Want me to lay down your foot? Okay, from our dance team, all NBL, Rory Cano. And Mirella Montanez. From the girls basketball team, all NBL, Gamecock All-State, honorable mention. Also, our all-time leading scorer for basketball, both boys and girls, with 1,564 points. So, congratulations to Ken Wall. This is it for girls basketball. Taylor will be attending Hattonville College next year in New York. And she will be continuing her basketball career. Let's go to boys swim. All state, all NBL, Noah Orlo. Oh, he did?
Yeah, you got it.
And today,
Yeah.
congratulations, academic all state as well. All state Pete Lanier. All state William Lanier. And all state Ryan Scully. Last thing I want to say about the boys swim team this year, they finished second, okay? And they lost by a half a point to Woodland for the NBL championship, okay? They were winning going into the diving, usually the diving is done prior to the swim. So they had a little bit of advantage, like having the diving got home and moved after the swim. So we were winning until the diving competition came, and then we ended up losing by a half point. But we did that for our girls and our boys this year. And Coach, I'm going to bring two coaches up here. Great job. Wherever you are. And we have a co-op wrestling program with Derby and Holy Cross. And this young man is only a sophomore. He's a monster on that. I happened to watch him in the Berkshire Championship where he dominated the 145-pound class. He is the 145-pound Berkshire League champion, Nate Womack. Why should you be worried about being up there all by yourself? He's under the back. And next, we're gonna honor our unified outstanding partner and outstanding athlete, Lily Arnold and Evan Kozen. Oh, that's right, he's on the track.
Yeah.
They'll be attending the Unified Sports Banquet on May 1st to receive their honors. Lily also finished as the runner-up for her essay on Unified Sports. So that's out of like 500 essays. So she finished as the second person in her essay. So that's a great honor. Okay. As long as I could, go into gymnastics next. So this gymnastics team finished undefeated this year. They were the SWC champions, and they finished second in the state to Daniel Han High School, and just had a fantastic season. We have first. I'll just name off the honors for all league and all other mentions. Molly Clifford. All SWC, all state, all area, high school, all American. All right. Lily wants and Lauren Roger. See? And we're going to take a quick picture with this crew, and then you guys are staying. Okay. And so we did want to honor the team for being undefeated and winning the SWC championship. So we have certificates for every team member. I'm just not sure how many of them are here tonight. So Molly Clifford. Sadie Chadman. Riley Daly. Ariella Hernandez, who just finished her track meet. Who just finished. Straight from the track. Bluedale. Emily Rice. Juliana Social. And Madison Social.
Two and four.
Thank you, girls.
One more. If you're not aware, we have phenomenal athletic breakfast to show. Please stand up here. Joe is,
On the X.
right here.
Yes, sir.
Joe was awarded the athletic breakfast year for Unified Program this year. And he's being awarded at the banquet on May 1st. And we have phenomenal, Unified Program on high school, and it doesn't take, it's no accident that happens. We've got great teachers, coaches, and student partner program, but also Joe is phenomenal athletic director. His coordination and leadership athletically is top notch. He's always on the all-time that he advocates everything that we need across the school. And I'm proud to have you guys have athletic director. Thank you so much. So again, thank you all.
Congratulations, Josh.
Thanks, Joe.
Congratulations.
This is live. Alex, is the video working? So will it just go back on? Okay. Okay. Okay, are we all put back together? Okay, good. Continuing on,
You
I was just gonna say, I-Ready presentation, demo, question and answer.
Yep. Okay. So there's been a lot of dialogue in the community the last couple of months about iReady. It's a system that we implemented in the fall of 2021. So this is our second school year using the system. We're using it in K-8 from a diagnostic perspective, also from a learning pathway for students to continue learning. The board was never presented the full benefits and the reason why we're implementing the system. It was done by the current administration. It came in during the summer, we started in the fall. Through the questions that we've had, it made sense this time to bring a representative in from iReady. So I'm going to invite Lisa up. She and I had a conversation last week to prepare for this evening. She has a presentation that she's going to provide to you, and then we'll open up to questions that you might have.
So much.
Is the mic working?
Can you hear me?
That's only for this.
Yeah.
You told me you could just project.
Oh, I can project.
Oh, good.
I can project your voice, trust me.
Wonderful.
You're like, oh, stop.
There you go.
Thank you so much. So first of all, I just want to say, by the way, the folders you have in front of you, be very careful with them. I got myself a nice paper cut and I'll take them out, and I don't have Band-Aids.
Mine has blood on it.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you more formally what iReady is, who we are, how we're providing it, utilized out here in Tech, but all across the nation. So thank you very much for letting me be here and for the opportunity to share iReady and what it is. So in terms of the iReady diagnostic, it's actually a platform, it's iReady Connect platform. It all starts with the diagnostic. The diagnostic is a universal screen as well as a criterion reference assessment that identifies exactly what students know and what they still need to know based on based upon the criteria of the skills that are at the grade level. So you'll see in the top, there's actually a visual depiction of the iReady Connect platform, the platform that your classroom educators and district administrators can see the standards mastery assessments as well as the actual items that students see when they're taking the diagnostic. Coupled with that, we believe fundamentally as a company that if we're going to assess, then we need to provide you with information on how to address what's going on, what students know, and what they still need to know. So coupled with the platform is teacher-led instruction. So those are teachers' tools for instruction and other resources that we utilize to support instruction. And then we also have a pathway for online lessons, as you mentioned, that are available to support classroom instruction. And I like to use the terminology that every single child comes into a classroom with strengths, but they also have what I call academic habits. In other words, each one of us has strengths and weaknesses, but we might have some areas of unfinished learning. And because this is a criterion reference tool that also provides norms, what it allows you to do is identify those strengths. We always start with that asset-based philosophy, but then we move on to where we might have needs that might be off grade level and how do we support them. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about how it actually works. So holistically, what it does is it identifies those strengths and then possibly identifies those gaps or academic gaps, as I call them. It is one assessment that's very important that drives all of this instructional recommendations. We pride ourselves on the fact that the reports that are generated for classroom educators are easy to use and implement so that they're not spending a lot of time trying to figure out how to support instruction. They have that information at their fingertips. And as I mentioned, it provides automatic prescriptions, both in print as well as online, in terms of recommendations. Just as a point of reference, iReady has been around for approximately 12 years now, built from scratch for the Common Core. So again, I want to just reinforce that what we're doing is we're measuring the skills that are in service of the grade level standards. We also provide you with norms, but norms do not change instructional practices. Norms simply compare Oxford children to children across the nation. Right now, there's approximately 11 million students on the iReady Connect platform. About 33% of students across the nation utilize iReady. And here in Connecticut, it's about 45% of students in the state of Connecticut that are utilizing the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive into what it actually does, and that was diagnosing those skills. So as a fully adaptive diagnostic, when your students when they first take the diagnostic in the fall, what happens is they see questions that are slightly below grade level, or they will pick up exactly where they left off, because you've been using for several years now, unless the student is new to the district, they're going to pick up exactly where they left off in the item banks that are within the iReady Connect item bank itself. From there, they're going to get, if they answer questions correctly, it's going to adapt up. If they answer questions incorrectly, it's going to be adapt down. It's fully adaptive in the sense that regardless of your actual chronological grade on the spectrum of K-12, it will identify that zone of proximal development. And it does that across the tested domains. In front of you in those very dangerous folders that you have what I call our reports book. Those are samples of the PDFs of all the reports as they actually folder. Yeah, you've got it on the left-hand side of your folder. Wanted to look at some of those sample reports, you'll be able to see the type of information that the diagnostic is able to provide your classroom educators with to help them support instruction, to make certain that now more than ever, we are not going back and remediating, but we're accelerating instruction by providing reports that support the prerequisite skills. So after the diagnostic is done, we get to that actual performance level. We are able to provide you, as I mentioned, not just criterion reference information, but normative information by looking at all of those students across the nation that are currently using the iReady platform. This next visual is very hard to see, but I really wanted to make certain that you were aware of the efficacy of the program. Besides all of the research that's been done to look for the validity of the items in the bag, we just hot off the press, and it's really hard to see, but to the left of the screen, in very, very small lettering, it says ELA on the bottom, and to the right of your screen, it says mathematics on the bottom. We just conducted with an outside agency a linking study, which looked at how students performed in Connecticut only. We literally updated it to not be Smarter Balance, it's just Connecticut students, to look to see where they performed on the iReady diagnostic and how they performed on the Smarter Balance assessment. It's called a linking study that, and it's I really want to call it an equipercentile linking study. So we looked at the crosswalk of the scores in the spring from actual students in Connecticut to how they performed on the Smarter Balance assessment. And in the world of linking studies, what you're looking for is a correlation of anything with 0.7 or above. And as you can see, you can't see it anymore. Previous slide, you can see that blue area is at 0.7 and above. This is the fall, light green, dark green in winter, and the spring is that orangish color. That is how the connection to the two assessments, two independent assessments, compared to each other. As you can see, the lowest percentage placement was a 0.81, and that was in the fall. So highly predictive of how students in Oxford are going to perform on the Smarter Balance assessment based upon their placement of mid-on grade level or above in the iReady diagnostic. Does that make sense to everyone? Mm-hmm. The next two slides I included for you, and I will send this as a PDF afterwards so you have it. This is just that linking of where's that mid-on grade level cut score, and the reason why we're so predictive is where we say a child is going to be proficient is actually above the Smarter Balance cut score. So that's for reading and that's for math. So knowing that now and understanding what the tool does, what iReady does for your classroom educators is it looks at the whole child. So what we're showing you here is that every child comes with assets to everything they do. They have strengths, and then, as I mentioned, they might have some academic gaps. So the visual here giving you a sense that for a child that's on grade level, that green line, when we're looking at their performance across the domains of phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, information, as well as literary text, you can see that they're either placing on grade level or above in this visual, right? The real strengths over here. Whereas you can also see for a child that's one grade level below, those are the color schemes within iReady, is identifying in the, for example, in mathematics, how they performed in number and operations, software and operating data, and geometry, because those are the four tested domains within mathematics as well. So we begin to paint a picture of where every child is at across those placement levels within iReady, so that, again, classroom educators are in a better place to understand how to support those students. And in keeping with that, what we're doing is we're also looking at the multiple pieces of information that iReady derives. So I've mentioned it several times now, criterion reference tool. In this particular example, a child who's placed at a 464 for that grade level is considered early on grade level, meaning they learned all the prior year skills and they're ready and inclined to learn this year's skills. At the same time, we're also going to give you those associated norms, because norms are important, but they're not important when it comes to changing instructional practices. And then most importantly within iReady, this is just, again, hot off the press research that we have, is that we have for every child, based upon how they place in the fall, they're given two differentiated growth targets. They're given a typical growth target and they're given a stretch growth target. Think of typical as the way the child would grow on average year over year. It's literally taking millions of data points throughout the actual, non-student identifiable data over 2 years, and our psychometricians look to see how much did a child who placed at a 465 in the fall grow over the course of the year through use of instruction, and we took the median to get rid of the outliers. But only using typical growth, if you're a child that is below grade level, if I'm a 4th grade student, and I come into 4th grade placing at 3rd grade, so I'm 1 grade level below, if that child continues to just grow 1/30, in other words, typical growth across the 30 weeks, when they start 5th grade, they'll be at 4th grade. Right? Fundamentally, we don't believe that that's doing children the service that we should. So as a result of that, they also looked to identify stretch growth. Stretch growth is a more aspirational growth. It is not attainable by all children, but it is potentially attainable by any child. So over the course, since we've come out of the pandemic and we've begun to look at what's happening, publishing research briefs, we began to look at what's happening with student growth. Kids are growing, but they're not growing as fast as they were before the pandemic because of some of the challenges that mislearning took place. So what they did is they looked to see, looking at cohorts, right? So we're looking at the same kids as they went from 1 grade to another, not going to fall out 3rd grade. This happens to be an example of mathematics. You can see in the top right hand corner. So for students that were in 3rd grade, but then in year 2 were in 4th grade, in year 1, 35% of those students that were in 3rd grade met stretch growth. They were actually able to get that aspirational growth beyond what would be considered average. In year 2, 31% of that same cohort made that stretch growth. But what that has done over time is in actual observed data, that cohort of students, 35 in year 1, 31 in year 2, 13%, a subset of those 2 years of growth, made that stretch growth in both years. Following me? Look what happens to a child's placements when that happens. That's placement in year 1 in the fall. The center is in year 2, and then the spring in year 2 as well. So the change in placement, the colors, dark green is mid on grade level or above, or as I mentioned before, will be proficient on the SMART Balance assessment. The lighter green color in year 1, the 15% of kids that are early on grade level. Yellow is 1 grade level below, red is 2 grade levels below, maybe it's kind of pink up there. And then the dark red is the kids that are 3 or more grade levels below. But when we're giving kids an opportunity to grow in that stretch manner by the combination of teacher-led instruction and the online personalized learning pathways, the change in placement actually occurs over those 2 years. And we deserve to do that, obviously, for all children, to give them an opportunity to catch up, keep up, and move up in their placement. So we're very proud of the fact that we have that. It's very unique to Ivory. So when it's all said and done, any resource is only as valuable as it's being used. So one of the things that we need to always make certain we're doing is that we're providing educators who need things in real time, right then and there, to support the students of Oxford with easy to use reports. This is a visual of the dashboard of Ivory that the teacher sees when the diagnostic is complete. As soon as the diagnostic is complete, they are presented with information about students based upon how they performed on the diagnostic. What you're seeing here is what we call our student level report. And what you're seeing in the blue column is the diagnostic performance, the actual scale score performance of this particular student. The green shading is reflecting on grade level skills. You see the overlay of typical and stretch growth, those 2 targets that I just spoke about. And then the dark green line is SMART Balance proficiency. So in one report, we are providing classroom educators with 3 pieces of information: how the child performed, how much they need to grow, and what does proficiency look like. So that I'm not having to look in multiple places to try to make determinations. And then we're going to provide them with instructional recommendations. There's also a class level report that the classroom educator and every building administrator can look across all classes. Classroom educators can look at their class, district administrators can look across the district. This is a reflection of those academic strengths that I talked about, and then areas where we might need to also provide additional support for students. Classroom teachers don't have the pleasure of just working with one child all the time. So the next report that they have available to them is what we call our instructional improvement report. Take all the students in that particular class, and they are grouped based upon commonality of needs. And right there at point of use, not only are we telling classroom educators what in common those 5 or 6 students might need, we call them out. We literally say, here are the skills. So we're just putting in as an example of these are the 5 skills that need to be supported with this group of students that have common needs. And directly adjacent to that is these things we call our tools for instruction. Those are lesson plans that are available for teachers to utilize and just provide on-the-spot teaching, small group, 15 to 20-minute lesson plans for differentiation in support of that skill instruction. That speaks to the commonality of students' needs. The other report that we have available is what we call our math prerequisite report. When your classroom educators are getting ready to teach grade level content, because that's what they have to do, they have to teach their grade level content. It's critical for them to understand what the prerequisites were. In other words, what's the progression of the skills that allow you to go ahead and teach 4th grade math or 2nd grade math. So the first thing that happens is we give them that progression. We identify the important skills in the topic focus in the dark blue. And then more importantly, we look to see what was the essential skill. What is the most important thing that a student needs to know in order to be ready to learn those on-grade level skills? And oftentimes, if not almost all the time, those essential skills came from a prior grade. So I don't necessarily have those teaching resources to support. So what we do is we then provide them right there at point of use with instructional recommendations of how you can take kids that might have that missing essential skill that in the absence of which they're not going to be ready for the right level of teaching or learning. And we're going to provide them with ways they can go about doing some small group instruction or provide them with recommendations for lessons that they might assign via the online platform to front load those lessons for the students maybe a couple of days in advance of when I'm teaching it in class. And we do the same thing for ELA. So we have what we call our grade level scaffolding report. This particular report looks at the content of the grade, and in this case, whatever the content skill is that the teacher is teaching, in this case, the drop down is telling us between identifying key details. It is telling you every one of the students in your class, where are they at in terms of their understanding of that skill and their ability to capture it. And you can see down here, I have kids that are all ready to go, in the center kids that need some additional support, and then students that you might even need support decoding. And just like we saw with the prerequisite report, we provide right there at point of use, two passages to teach that particular skill with all the teaching recommendations for not only the knowledge demands, but also the language demands that come into play. So that you're able to quickly dive in and do that instructional support, provide the students with differentiated pieces of text, and move on so that you're continuing to accelerate learning. So the diagnostic is one easy to understand platform. It tells you what each student knows and still needs to know, what your class knows and what they still need to know, how I can group kids with common needs and instructional grouping. And then when it comes time for me to teach my grade level content, I have 2 tools available to me, the prerequisite report and the grade level scaffolding report, to help me scaffold up instruction to ensure that I'm not going back and teaching what they didn't learn, and providing that acceleration by scaffolding that instruction. And then finally, in terms of what we also do is at that class level of the report, directly adjacent. So we tell you what the child can do, but then we also say these are the next steps for instruction. And those next steps for instruction are teaching rounding whole numbers to the nearest 10 and 100, or possibly subtracting 3-digit numbers with the grouping. And once again, right there at point of use, there's tools for instruction. If you need them, you have rich curriculum in your classrooms, but if you need them to support that instruction. iReady can be utilized on Chromebooks, computers, and Apple supported iPads. So we have the flexibility of providing our students assess to make certain that they have what they need to complete the diagnostic, and then from there to go into their life path, which is again possible on all of these particular devices. There is also the possibility for teacher-assigned lessons of that larger graphic that's on the screen right now. That's an example where a teacher has gone in and decided to assign some lessons, maybe again strategically as a prerequisite. And then the My Path is the pathway that is assigned by the diagnostic based upon the needs of the child, typically the lowest domain in terms of their performance. Those are the lessons that the child is getting in support of that instruction. This is an example of one of the lessons in our platform. And, so there's a couple concepts that we utilize when we're building these lessons. When in doubt, especially at the elementary, gross matters. We write stories about things like roadkill, because kids like roadkill. There's lots of supports. We have supports for accessibility. We have audio supports. The way the lessons are designed, they actually go through. It's explicit instruction, guided practice with corrective feedback, and then a progress monitoring quiz to inform the classroom educator as to whether or not the student is able to understand the lesson that has been taught. There are also in the platform for math only what we call our learning games. Those are not nearly as structured. These lessons are very structured in terms of acting like an online tutor teacher, whereas the learning games are more kind of like fun purposeful practice. Here's an example of what one of the math lessons would look like in terms of providing multiple representations and making real life connections and deep conceptual understanding to help students to better understand the concepts at hand. And then this next picture is actually this learning game. So one of them is pizza. If anybody's got children that play pizza, how to play it, I tried times and I can't. I'm certainly not as much as a fourth grader. So that is the My Path platform that's available to support the instruction. We recommend 30 to 49 minutes per week per subject total for students to be out on. The intent is not to have kids in front of computers all the time. The intent of this platform is to provide classroom educators, district administrators with information about what kids still need to know and how they're performing. One of the things that we incorporated into our lesson structure several years ago was this responsive instruction. So I mentioned is that explicit instruction, the guided practice for corrective feedback, and the progress monitoring quiz. If the child is going through and they're getting that responsive feedback and they're answering all the questions correctly, they actually jump forward right to the quiz. No, we don't want to make them have to plot through the lesson in order to get to that end. So, if they know it, we don't need to waste their time on it. We do ask teachers to monitor the lessons progression, so the students can monitor it with the families, but the teacher is ultimately responsible for monitoring to make certain that students are passing lessons. If they're not successful in passing the lessons, what they're doing is shut off, and the teacher gets notified. You don't want kids just struggling and slogging through lessons that are not helping them. It's just another view of personalized instruction by lesson. And then the last thing I wanted you to be able to see relates to how it looks for the kids. So this is a very busy graphic, but it's the easiest way for me to try to depict this. This is what a student's dashboard would look like. So if you follow along with me on numbers, number one is just a button that they can click on to see their life progress, right? That's what's showing up here after they've seen the lessons. Number two is showing their time on task. So how much time have they spent engaging with their lessons? And then two-way lessons passed. So we try to make it a little bit fun for them, kind of like streaks, right? Which I guess is one of the platforms in Instagram or something like that. Streaks. And then their completed work so that they can see how much work they've actually completed. The other piece that is so very important is up in the top right-hand corner. It's hard to see on the screen, but it says Family Center. If you click on that from the student's portal, if they have access at home, it brings them to an entire landing page for families. Right? Because helping families better understand what iReady is and what it isn't is equally as important to us as it is to make certain that classroom educators know how to use the platform. So there's a wealth of resources out there, FAQs, ways to talk to your children about the diagnostic, data chat conversations you can have. The more that we engage students in their own learning, the better they are at at progressing along. So this is what we talked about. I know there's some questions, so I want to leave some time for anyone to ask questions.
Researching something on the basis of why but what about curriculum? There's 8 different styles of curriculum. Second, ways, this is what teachers said, I don't teach my way, not necessarily either. So what does that mean? So there's 8 different ways to all support, assess, recommend. Now, we're saying that we have individualized students. Individualized, 8 different ways that they can teach program. Each need each student like that. And so as you go through this process of where this is, I'm teaching my same course, this student, same maybe they did talk about different methods. And all this data gets jumped. I have to say my own mind. I found all the I did the sample one on there. So it sounds good. It's so sliced by data, so sliced by method. Blend it all together. What parents have asked is that last meeting was only 10 minutes more long. Well, you just said it's 30 minutes per course.
Per week.
Per week total. So 10 or 15 minutes.
10 minutes per week lesson.
No,
10 minutes per day. So does that work out? The whole process that we're presenting, that we have all these different methods, all these ways of analyzing the student. Where does it all come together? That works. You took out 4 grades. Okay, 8, 6, 7, 8. That's a problem. Now, kids lose interest in 6th grade. And your own grade shows that you didn't do that. You did 3rd grade, so it was good. Okay, so how does all this fit together? Parent understands this. Student learn from it. And the teacher will go to the teaching the way that she feels more comfortable.
So I would say the best way for us to do so. iReady is identified again for the child works with facilities now. It is so important when we're talking about learning, right? Again, that fragmented, everybody comes with their strengths and their weaknesses, right? We always need to start with an asset-based philosophy. That's why that report says these are all the things you can do. So we start there because we fundamentally believe, and I've gone, can you help me? I'm not live. How do I switch from PowerPoint to, do I have to close the PowerPoint so they can see my dashboard? If you and I came to work every single day, and all we were told when we got to work every single day was what we have to do well, I guarantee you none of us would want to come to work. So that is why fundamentally we start with that asset-based philosophy. So I'm in a demo account now. This is not Oxford's data at all. I have gone in here intentionally because I think the answer to your question is, we're not telling the teacher how to teach. We're saying there's some tools for instruction. Use what resources you have in your classroom. You teach the way you know how to teach. We're not trying to disappoint the teacher. What we're doing is we're saying, this is what Dr. Miller still needs to work on. These are the things he needs to work on. And the way that we believe that we can engage students is in this welcome center, which is iReady Central, which is like Pinterest for iReady. Okay, it's about, there's a few things that you can't get to if you log in from home because they're proprietary. You can't see our placement tables. We don't want our competitors to see that.
But all of these resources can be accessed via the family center. And the single best thing that you can do when you're talking about getting, especially middle school students engaged, is what we call our data chats, right? Our data chats are tools for teachers, parents, and guardians to talk with students about how we engage them in their own learning, right? How to get them motivated to learn. Because it's as much about the child, if not more, than it is about the curriculum, right? Curriculum is your core reading program, core math program, your scope and sequence that you're using. We are saying, we're just showing you where there might still be needs in support of that instruction. Does that answer your question?
Vic, can I add on to yours? Can I add on to yours and maybe make it clearer? So kind of to coordinate what Vic is asking. If you have a student how does it coordinate with what is being taught in the classroom? I know you can take a diagnostic in the beginning and then see where children are. And then you take a diagnostic maybe in the winter and you hope that they have improved in those skills that you've taught them. And then you take another one at the end and grade level, you would hope that they would, achieve their growth from where they came in. But from, and I come from a place where we created our own assessment. So, when you're creating your own assessments, then you're evaluating the children on what you are going to teach. So how does this, I understand the assessment part, but how does this, and I think this is what you're asking, Vic, if it's not, you can add in. How does this coordinate with what is being taught in the classroom present day? I don't see how it can be because everyone's curriculum is different, everyone's pacing is different, everyone's scope and sequence is different. So I don't see how that could benefit.
So our answer to that is this grade level scaffolding report, which I'm now in here live. So I'm going to go ahead and go to 5th grade.
But what are you scaffolding it on? On regular,
On the
what
skills.
children, okay, but on the,
grade
if
level
we go to
skills.
so if we go to the Connecticut Department of Education that has a suggested, skills that you need at each grade level, is that what you're using? Like who's deciding what skills should be taught at what time?
So I'm logging into this demo account. Right there, it says I have to log in, same Connecticut. Because
Okay,
it's the Connecticut standards. And then if I go here, you can see the Connecticut Common Core State Standard Performance.
okay,
This is, again, we're measuring the skills that are in service to grade level standards. These are the standards starting at kindergarten, going all the way through to 8th grade. So
I understand that, but most classrooms don't go, here's standard 1, we're teaching that, here's standard 2, we're teaching that, here's standard 3, we're teaching that. That's not how it goes. So if you are assessing along the way and along the journey, I don't see how you can, unless it's really, really personalized to our curriculum or what is being taught in the classrooms, I don't see how you can do. I can see it as a diagnostic. I get that. But, I don't see how it could possibly coordinate with what is going on, what is being taught in the classroom. So therefore, if a child hasn't been taught it yet, then they're not going to be successful at it.
absolutely, we see that a
So-
lot with geometry. For example.
Right,
It's the
so,
last domain that's taught, it's the one that runs out of real estate. So it tends to be where kids don't have those skills, but if you haven't taught it, the classroom educator.
but there's other things that maybe have been taught. I mean, if there's if there's snow days or there's vacation and you're behind and you haven't taught. I'm just saying, how accurate can it be in coordination with what the student is being taught? For instance, if every school did their own assessments, beginning, middle, and end, then you can diagnose where the children are and what they're coming in and what they need. You teach them till December, you diagnose them on that. They might need, refresher, they might not have gotten the skills. I just don't see how this on a daily basis can coordinate with what's going on in the classroom.
Well, I think part of that is, that's also why we assess fall and spring. So in the fall, when the children walk in the door, we want to know, a child that walks in the door, a fifth grader, for example, or an eighth grader, that is saying, you know, they're one grade level below, that's not feeding at all. In other words, they've learned their prior grade level standards. We haven't even begun to teach them, you have not begun to teach them. We're trying to figure out what they still need to know, with the ultimate goal of knowing that across those 30 weeks of instruction, we've got to somehow or another get them to grade level content. So that's the goal. That's that linking study that I started out sharing with you.
Okay.
So it's essentially the passage of the lessons.
But every day, aren't the children working on skills that they may be deficit in? Or
And some of those are higher
right,
grade
but
levels.
they're deficit in skills that they may not have been taught. So that's just my point. And the other thing is, what do schools, I know some schools, districts just use this for diagnostic purposes. They do not use the daily pathway and all this other stuff. So what does it look like for those districts that do that?
The only difference is that there's no personalized learning pathway. So it sounds like all the personalized learning pathway that's happening here is happening as homework, which is not necessarily.
That's not, well,
In
in
grade,
some
in
grades.
grade 6 through 8.
Six
In
through eight,
K
okay,
through,
sorry.
and K through 5, it's done in school.
Okay, before we go on to Nicole, did that, I'm sorry, what?
It was just the video.
Oh, no, I was talking to Vic.
I'm sorry.
I was pointing that way. Did that, is that what you were trying to get at, Vic? I didn't want it. Okay, yeah,
The teachers desire to excel. And how the students are on such a.
right.
There's all these variables going on. It seems that the neighborhood is 10 minutes a week that they get to catch up on. You know,
Yeah.
so, I have trouble where anybody saying something takes 10 minutes. You know. So,
Right.
But anyway, no, I was.
Okay, go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you. So I can see the value of using this tool for assessment purposes and evaluation. I think where we're missing the mark is how we're supposed to use it for homework. And we're getting a lot of pushback from the parents because there's frustration from the kids. And I think we need some clarification on how are we supposed to do this so it's a successful program.
That's honestly not a question I can answer for you. That's a district decision. I can tell you that some districts use it as homework. Others utilize the personalized learning pathway as small workstation rotation. So when I'm pulling this instructional movie report, when I'm pulling the kids to do some direct instruction, those other kids might be sitting on the Chromebooks. I would say to you, my experience in Connecticut and Rhode Island educators, that's who I've been supporting for over 9 years. It is more often used in school than it is used out of school, except for when we're in the middle of the pandemic.
All right, so let me just follow up with one other question. So, right, we tried to do 30 minutes per week for math and ELA. Is that prescribed by iReady or did that come from the district?
That's our recommendation.
Okay.
That is our recommendation. And the reason why we recommend that is, again, looking at data within the iReady Connect platform. It's 11 million students. Students that are using the personalized learning pathway, as compared to students who are not, are growing exponentially more. On your report group, look, it's the second to last page. You can actually see that graphic. 38, I think it is. So for reading students that are using the personalized learning pathway for that sweet spot, 30 to say 30 to 49 minutes, no more. Those students are growing 46% more than students that are not using the personalized learning pathway. And then for mathematics, it's 38% more. Second to last page, page 38. And it's because the kids are getting that instruction in exactly their zone of proximal development, which may or may not be on grade level.
So is that measured by iReady or is that measured by the standardized testing?
That's by average. That's literally looking at all the data in
areas that
So
have.
there's also theory that the more you use something and the more you use the program, the more you get used to it. And, you know, so I mean, there's a little bit of that
Oh, yeah,
that goes on too. Before I go to Steve, what do? You mentioned auditory supports. Does that mean that if in your ELA, can a student choose to have the passage read to them? Or can the program be adjusted at all for children with different
stress accommodations that I have to send you those. I'm not to speak to them, because I can get your bus zero and send along all the different accommodations. I believe this week had 2.0 something, but please don't hold me to that forward.
So what you're saying, that is kind of like an add-on to the program?
No, it's part of the supports that can be enabled.
Okay.
So there's auditory supports, there's closed captioning, there's all kinds of. different
Okay, that's what my
supports.
question was.
It's a benefit to the system.
But again, that falls into special education, and I don't want to speak for that.
No, I understand that. I just wanted to find out because, you know, if you're trying to educate all students, then you have to educate them. And some of them have to be educated, which kind of goes back to Vic as well. Different ways, different styles, different. Steve?
So, five more simple questions. So we're seeing a little bit more acceptance of the pathways in the lower grades than we're doing in the classroom. Could it be the fact that as we get further into grades, not everybody's keeping up with what they need to be at grade level, and it's the pathway showing them things. Like that's your point, scope and sequence. We may choose to put this
Skill.
learning way up front and put the other one in the back. So when the pathway comes up saying, do this, this, and this, and they're getting frustrated because, well, we're not gonna hit that for 3 more months. That's the time to
That's a
get,
good
how do you, to your point, you can't tie it together.
And that's what we're all for kids that are on grade level. Like, if they're on grade level, they might not have been taught those skills yet, because it's not on their scope and sequence. But for the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but even if they're on grade level, there's no way for, and we're beating a dead horse, I think, but even if you're on grade level, there's no way for iReady to know what order we are teaching things. So for me, and it sounds like that could lead, you know, if you're going to, you know, draw a picture, you know, of a child who is on grade level and diligent, does the work and reads all the time, that's like 3 kids. You know, I mean, most kids are kids and they, you know, and they're gonna do things, you know, at their own level and at their own pace. And sometimes they're gonna do it, sometimes they're not. And there's something else. And the other thing, Steve, I think in the middle school, just the way, you know, at elementary school, if you want to spend an hour and a half on ELA one day and an hour and a half on that the other day, you have that flexibility in your classroom. In the middle school, whatever it is, 50 minutes, and you have to do everything that you need to do in 50 minutes and teach what you need to teach and make sure the kids are ready for what they need to do. So I don't think the structure of middle school allows it to be done in the classroom unless you're going to put in the schedule, okay, now here is your 15-minute iReady, which is, you know, we used to have SSR time, right? So unless you're going to put it into the schedule, I don't see how it could work in a middle school classroom.
Which is why at the beginning of the year, we were doing it as part of math and part of the language arts
Yeah, it didn't
classes.
work.
And it didn't work. We would
Right.
take away core instruction time. That's when there's a shift and we made it, instead of doing it during the school, we said, let's do it during homework.
And that's
Where students would do it 30 to 45 minutes over the course of the week. What Sylvia was going to do, what the principal was going to do is the beginning of this 4th quarter was to shift that away from homework, not do it during class time, but have students during the flex time, the wing classes that they have, where they have teachers as part of the classes and students are there. It's not during instruction time, it's not during homework. And it's kind of
Everybody
a,
doesn't get those classes either. And so kids are
That's why
getting
next
pulled
year-
out. So the kids that need the instruction most are getting pulled out and getting services and.
but that's why
Stephanie, can I-
next year, all
Yeah, go ahead.
students with the new schedule, all students would have the opportunity to have that.
Go ahead, Mike.
So I'm hearing a lot of saying it's disjointed, but when the teacher gives an assignment for iReady, it's not just drawing blindly. They're like, I'm teaching this skill set, so I'm going to pick this iReady assignment that aligns with that skill set. Am I correct? So it's not like we're just going, give me iReady, you decide what I'm going to give out for homework, and I'm just going to tell them do 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Instead, we're doing this one skill set right now. This, I taught this today. The homework I'm assigning should be aligned to that. So if they're doing that, it's not out of sequence. It's not teaching division when you haven't taught division yet. It's not teaching geometry when you haven't taught geometry.
That does happen sometimes.
And also,
That-
that's the third component of it, right? I mean, so one component is assessment, one component is this, my pathways. I mean, the teacher doesn't direct, unless I have it wrong, the teacher doesn't direct my pathways, but then the teacher has the option of assigning an assignment. And assigning an
'Cause it-
assignment and my pathways are two different things, I believe. Yes.
Because if the
Because it
iReady
makes
is,
sense, yeah.
because if the iReady is because it's not meant to teach you, it's meant to reinforce, correct? If I haven't taught geometry and it's like, let's say I'm a teacher and I don't like to teach geometry. I'm not using iReady correctly if I'm gonna have iReady teach geometry. Would that be a correct statement? That it's not meant to supplant the instruction that's happening in the class?
It's not meant to do that at all.
So it's meant to reinforce and to evaluate going,
And to
Did-
intervene, to identify places where those academic cavities are that might be skill gaps. So we talked about middle school several times now. Middle school more than ever, students are coming with more gaps for all the reasons we know why. The interrupted learning, everything. We have more middle school students across the nation that are still needing phonics instruction. Phonics it's not taught beyond second grade. So we're seeing those fragmented learning patterns that are taking place, and a tool like this that's going to fill in that foundation, which is the way it's designed to do, is why those kids are growing more, because you can't possibly, as a classroom educator with 20 kids in front of you or a middle school schedule with 60 kids, you can't possibly differentiate the subscale level for every child. The best educator in the world, there's not enough hours in the day.
The way I thought about it when you said the diagnostic and then the assignments, that's teacher looks at diagnostics, says, well, I see a pattern that 70% of the children are not getting this, and it pops up the recommendation. Well, I think everybody gets homework, right? That's one half. Right? The pathways is truly single individual, it's the
All
tool
about
driving
being
everything,
individual. Exactly.
the tools making decisions.
And I did want to just point something out. I'm at iReady Central. I just want to remind you, in anybody's dashboard, if you go to the help button, you can get to the iReady Central. And there is navigating on the side here, using iReady with different groups, and there's a middle school. And there are
We don't have
lots.
access to any of that. As a board, we don't have access.
You can actually get to this, iReadyCentral.com is
Oh,
all free, undated. There will be a few things that you click on and it's gonna say, oops, you need to log in. Those are proprietary, but our sample middle school schedules are not proprietary at all. So the majority of this is available to anybody. It's just i-ready.com, iReadyCentral.com, right at the very top here. That's the website.
So I just want to say, I mean, and we can ask more questions too, but, thank you for being here. You don't really know our district, and we obviously have these questions. I feel like there's a huge piece that's missing that I feel the board needs to hear from teachers and we need to hear from administrators, because, if we're just thinking in our head but how we imagine this is going, but we're not teaching it, and we're thinking in our head how this is benefiting or possibly not benefiting students. So we really need to hear from teachers and from administrators what's working and what's not working, and what they like and what they want to keep and what they might not want to keep. Are there any other questions? Joe, only because Joe hasn't had a chance yet.
We were talking about scope and sequence, about things in our curriculum and what's being taught. Do you guys have I want to say syllabus, probably the wrong word for it, but do you have like a basic breakdown of curriculum? Like certain things
Which
have
is
certain
nice.
milestones in certain months or certain quarters?
Those are the standards. We're measuring the skills that are in service to the grade level standards as grade.
But those aren't by month.
But it's not-
Right, I'm just saying, like, to make sure our curriculum, I guess, is in line with what is being taught, evaluated and taught, or through the pathways and iReady, like, we're not putting the cart before the horse. We're doing multiplication before we're doing, addition and subtraction, like, you're assessing stuff that maybe we're not in line with your programs, if that makes any
Well,
sense.
the standards, so the way it goes. The state, everyone has to teach to the state standards.
No, but
The
I'm
state
saying-
Standards, then we do our own curriculum. Our curriculum needs to reflect the state standards, and we need to get the kids to
Yeah, but,
understand those
but,
at certain.
but what Steve was saying too is that like, we might not be ready to that until December as opposed to.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just saying like, where are they in
They
their,
can't do it. I mean, not they can't do it, no one can do it, really. You know, like, I don't think a computer as
So I think
programming.
what you're asking is, and you're right, like, you can't, you're not gonna get a one-to-one alignment, but in our personalized learning instruction, you've logged in as Connecticut. If you click on the Connecticut standards here, it's opening up this dashboard. This is a 113-page document for math, and there's equally one for reading. It literally is, here's the Connecticut standard, these are the lessons that are in iReady. Here's the standard, these are the lessons that it's aligned to the scope and sequence of the Common Core state standards or the Connecticut state standards as they've been modified. And I just want to come back to that, I want to just touch on what something you said. After you've had those conversations, we have an entire group of national directors that travel all around the country in support of districts all over, trying to figure out like what is the best way for us to utilize. I am more than happy to call in some of those directors that can support through the work you're doing and answer some of the questions and say, hey, what I saw in this, when I was in this state, I saw this. So they're going across the nation and supporting educators just like yourself. You don't have to do it on your own. We're here to support you and to support your implementation that works for Oxford.
Right.
That's what's most important. This is a resource. It is a tool to help you do your jobs better. We don't have all the answers, right? But we do know how to assess.
Yeah. And again, I do appreciate it's not easy to come into a group of strangers and have
I
us,
like
you know, shoot me some questions at you, but I appreciate
And I
it.
hope that I've answered this.
No, Vic, did you have another
Yeah,
question?
it's that I'm trying to put myself in the parent's position, but I'm not a school teacher. And, possibly a student. So I'm looking at three levels on the choice. Time, home, where am I at? So depending on the homework that you assign, so I'm behind, you're trying to get me caught up. And then on my head, one of the parents said, my kid is trying to teach himself to be Einstein. By himself.
Yeah.
And the school's doing nothing. And he said, well, try that, try the other, that. So that student got nothing. So
And it might not be appropriate for that child.
The student behind never really catches up. I think your dad, the way you said it, he's improved. His rate of improvement is great. But never got to where he's supposed to be.
Well, no, actually, that study that I showed you, that third, fourth grade, where those kids actually did get on grade level if they made that stretch growth, that aspirational growth.
Right.
No, no, there was, I just didn't, I'll send you the executive summary, you can see it for every grade.
This is what we see on the score. Watching that by sixth grade, you start to lose the student. Home data substantiated that, whatever you did, you picked her. So what I'm saying is, how does this all fit in? The student, I may be brilliant in math and hate English. It's all behind, I'm there, so we'll extra homework in English. One of these criteria. So how are you learning that? Maybe that's. To me, that's a part that's missing. Everyone in this room can sit down and say, this is for my student. 75 left. If I choose to work out, you all have 2 or 3 teachers.
And iReady is not supposed to replace the teacher, that's not the role of this tool.
So
It's to inform the teacher on how they can best instruct the student.
This
That's
is
the
the
role.
biggest thing we're missing is working. Because that's what guys. Goes.
So,
I read it like.
Sure. Well, yeah, we do this. Mike?
I have one question. When we get presentations by the building administrators, I ask similar questions. I seem to get different answers. each time we get. So, for example, in the fall, we got a presentation that said, you know, from spring to fall, we had a big drop off. So, okay. And so we asked like, well, you know, are we testing at that moment, like where they are, students in third grade for math, they dropped the percentage of students, 3 grade levels or more behind, grew significantly. And one answer we received was, well, that's because the test that they're taking is what they should be at the end of third grade while taking it in the fall of third grade. And it's like, and it gets better as time goes on, but I've gotten different answers to the same question where it's like winter results and we go, okay. And it's like, well, that's testing them at where they are at that moment, not where they are going to be at the end of the year. And then we get to the end of the year and it's like, well, naturally it's testing them where they need to be at the end of the year. But each time we get a presentation, we seem to get a different answer. So I don't know if I worded that clearly, but it's what is the correct answer?
So
She probably can't answer that.
it is 100% true that when you really can't compare spring scores from third graders to fourth grade fall scores, because when they take the fall diagnostic, they're being measured against fourth grade standards.
End of year, and like as if they're just about to finish.
We just want to know what the child knows and still needs to know.
Okay.
And not been taught any content in grade 4. So presumably, you would want all in the perfect world, which does not exist, you would want every single child coming in the door, and whatever their chronological grade is, light green, meaning they've learned everything from prior years and they're ready to learn this year's content. That's the ideal world. That doesn't exist. That is not a reality that any of us will ever have the pleasure of living in. Even students that come in the fall yellow is just saying they're 1 grade level below, which means if I'm a fourth grader, 1 grade level below is third grade, I've learned everything I was supposed to get, or most everything I was supposed to get in third grade. So that's not necessarily a negative of where the child is actually placed. So that's one piece of the puzzle in terms of like, it is a moving target. But for example, when you look at the diagnostic window 1, these are kids that, they're walking in the door. If they took the Smarter Balance the same day at the same time, those based on that linking study, those kids are already proficient. They're ready to go. Like they should be being enriched. There's no remediation per se for them. The students that are early on grade level, these green, those are students that are also ready to learn. Again, they've learned everything. There's really no academic gaps for them. It's the students that are falling in this yellow and red and then shaded red. And remember, even when we have students, so here's a perfect example. You have a student, again, this is not your data, this is demo unidentified. This child here has a 472 scale score. So too does, sorry. So too does that other child. But you can see, you can't see it because I scrolled down. You can see that those 472s on the stay away from the board, this 472 and this 472, those kids are not the same kids.
Of course not.
This child in number and operations is already on grade level, whereas this child at the same exact scale score is 1 grade level below. Conversely, in algebra and algebraic thinking, that other child has those great skills. So we're looking at the whole child and saying, what are all the things they know and what do they still need to know? And then as I was sharing with you before, if I look at that child, I can see their typical growth, their stretch growth. I can see exactly where they placed. And then I can go into the individual domains and look at all the things they can do. These are all the things they're able to do, the asset-based philosophy. And then here are all the things that I could be doing with those children to help them move along in their progression while you're teaching grade level content. You have, I apologize, I don't know what your math program is. What do you use for math instruction in district?
Connected everyday math? No.
Everyday math, okay. Okay, so big ideas, everyday math. That's your daily instruction that's taking place. this is helping those kids that are still struggling in an area.
You've answered my question fully, by the way. Because it's one of those, we needed an answer.
Yeah.
Because every time we get a presentation, if we get a different answer, it's, at least from our side, we'll know the data we're looking at better. Thank you.
Okay, good. And go ahead, Steve.
A lot of these yellow, it's not bad. It's just like they learn
Those kids
it.
are ready to learn.
But it's the next test will really show they're ready to learn, but did they really learn prior year? Maybe it's the early red, maybe, right? So if they're coming in early red, if the teacher can't adjust or they can't get the services to get them prior to level, they're going to continue to be in that place because a lot of skills are built.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially that.
So to get back to diagnostics, we're still struggling with the other product a little bit.
Everybody, any more questions? Well, again, thank you so much, and we'll
Thank
get
you
back
very
to you. If we get more questions, we'll either get them to Dr. Miller or to you and to National and to
I am
whomever.
like I say, there's people that are way smarter than me in the company that have better lenses in terms of, other districts and recommendations. of
Right.
how we can make it work in districts.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Moving along, approval of minutes, Deb. Motion to approve the April 4th Board of Education minutes.
Are there any edits or adjustments? Deb?
No.
Oh, no edits or adjustments. So we added the
Yep,
executive
it
session.
was on
Okay,
the website.
okay. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstain as well. I wasn't
Cindy and
there.
Mike abstain. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I already did that. Oppose or abstain? Yeah, you abstained. Got it. All right, I'll get this one of these days. Audience of citizens, if you'd like to speak to us, please come to the podium.
State my name and address.
Please.
Sharon Levinsky, 400 Boulder Pass. I really haven't said I came tonight, because I do have great concerns regarding the iReady and its use, particularly at the middle school. I do appreciate the pause in that homework assignment. It did cause my son a lot of grief. I did share my experiences with the building principal. However, now I'm going to speak to you as an educator, not in this district. I'm a literacy coach in a nearby district who struggles with iReady on a daily basis. I also don't know if you are familiar with the right to read legislation that was passed last year that's impacting our curriculum. With that being said, we were sold a lot of information from publishers as educators, from curriculum, and I see the same thing happening with iReady. They have their own curriculum. The person that presented is a salesperson. She's giving you a sales pitch. You are paying, we as taxpayers are paying a lot of money for my path. I spend 5 days a week sorting through trash data about iReady because it is a moving target. The state of Connecticut requires you to have universal screening at the K-2 level. There are free screenings that will tell teachers what a child needs in 5 minutes. If teachers are supported and they're given those tools, they can do exactly what you said. Teach to the kid. We can't have teachers spinning their wheels, creating, and from what I'm hearing, we don't even have a curriculum. So they're on the fly, figuring out curriculum. They're answering to administration regarding an assessment. Their colleagues who are admin have to put together data to show you that unfortunately you admitted that you don't even feel comfortable observing. It's absurd. I hate throwing my colleagues in my administration under the bus. But I will tell you that I work with people who are far past my pay grade, who don't understand the data themselves. And I have to spend my time, while I don't have a classroom, at night, figuring out this training. Because if you want to hire her to do that, it's more of our tax money to do that. So I spend my time figuring out the data to coach my teachers, to empower them, so that we can do what the board says. Give a test, present data, throw a dart at it, and leave it alone. If you want to provide students with a My Path instruction, teachers have to go in, click it around, don't click this, turn on this, I'm teaching geometry, I gotta turn on geometry, turn off algebra. It is so much work, so much work. All of the materials that they are providing students are generic. They are standard-based. Open up the Common Core state standards, look at the laundry list of things that they're telling children that they can't do. It's a standard. It doesn't take the thousands of dollars of a line item that you are putting in to have that data. The tricky part for you is that while you can use DIBELS, I recommend DIBELS free for K1, 2, 3. You do still have a problem for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because the state requires universal screening, and you're not really going to get that information that you need from that assessment. So it is something, if you can find something cheaper that serves the state's purpose, that can help teachers actually do their jobs, maximize all of the assessments that SBAC has provided for free in the interim assessments, you will have happier teachers, happier parents. But I'm greatly concerned that we're sitting around a table not discussing the lack of curriculum. You're right, you're putting the cart before the horse. Like, teachers need curriculum. And the legislation happened in July. And they have to go to school in August, ready to teach a child's right to read. That's not happening in K2, K1, 2, 3. Forget 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's why you have the gap. That thing that she presented with the data, it was only 13%. They had to put together and pay a lot of the money, that the profits, to have this assessment, proving that only 13% of third graders, if they make their stretch growth for 2 years, that's writing out a lot of variables. That means that kid didn't have a divorce. It means nothing bad happened to their life. It means their teacher wasn't new, or their teacher wasn't partially out of retirement, or their teacher wasn't dealing with something personal. That's a kosher child, 13%. And then it went down to like almost 7 by 8th grade. That's a lot of money to hope you're gonna move 13% of students in 3rd grade to only 7%. You are on the right path. You asked fantastic questions. I honestly am thankful, both of you. The question about the curriculum, you asked us pointed questions. She was providing a sales pitch. And I think that we need to be a little bit of stewards of the funds and look at how can we use things that are free to satisfy the state, and how can we empower teachers a little bit more. I do think that you're right, that your thought of asking teachers what they think, because I spend a lot of time with them, and they're not from Oxford, but I've also worked in 4 different districts, and I'm new to Oxford, so I spent a lot of time in 5th district. So this is district number 6. I've been a teacher for 17 years.
Thank you.
On the right path.
Thank
So
you.
I do thank you for your work, and I support everything that the board does. And I also do support the superintendent of schools. We know that your work is not easy, but I think that we do need to really look at our curriculum, make sure that we have what's best for our kids. committee, you want happy parents and happy kids.
Thank you.
So thank you. Sorry for being awful.
That's okay. Anybody else like to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Any correspondence, Mike?
No correspondence at this time.
Budget update, Dr. Miller.
So, the Board of Finance has recommended budget support to consider they held a forum last night. The published budget I shared with the community, with parents and with staff on Friday evening was listed at a lower amount than we actually had adopted from the Board of Finance. So the actual reduction that the Board of Finance had passed the student budget passed as it is written right now is $780,000. And right now, the public department, the Board of Finance will consider what they heard last night, go back and go great, and then on May 1st, that's the key date for parents to stay focused on and to attend parents and community members we talk about budget at that time. And it goes to what we need to do is more and continue and work back with the board.
Did they say they were meeting tonight or did I mishear that?
They are
Meeting tonight?
I think 7 o'clock.
So does that mean that this is this part of a series or they'll meet as of, even though we do this every year,
They'll usually.
seems
meet-
gets confusing. So
they'll
they'll
usually
meet tonight,
Finalize from what they heard at the public hearing.
right,
And then.
resubmit,
And then. they'll
and then that's what will be
repost it.
submitted for the May 1st
Correct.
referendum.
On the capital side, they honored what our number one priority is, because again, last year, I think this year, that goes to the $127 in the capital proposed budget for the recreations and all that. And go to school. There's also capital line item for the parking lot upgrades of that building, as well as the roof upgrade on the curb. There's also capital request to replace the pool package, the heating system above the pool on that high school. That's major capital.
What was the, we thought that that was already in a capital project, the pool.
The pool is different work. The work
Okay.
this year is the pool lining, is the actual interior of the pool. The pool pack is actually the heater above the roof of the high school.
Did we have that as part of, did we put that in our capital plan?
That was part of our capital request.
Okay, and I just said, I was just confused when we got the grant for the HVAC. And Joe's been very involved with this. We got the money from the state, right? Last night, Jack seemed to indicate that the state would have to match. I got a little nervous.
The town has to.
The town, I didn't mean to say, it. I meant the town has to match. So how does that work? Like, when can we get this work done?
I'll have to inquire about it, because they recently came out and said that, like, normally the state used to push the money out first to you,
Right,
but now
they want you to put it up?
they want us to put it out first, then the state reimburses on it, so it's another, gonna be another negative.
So who has the money? Does the state have the money or do we have the money?
The state.
Right, so they want us,
I thought Jack said 50%,
It's
and George said 20%. Different conversation.
It's, I thought it was 20,
20.
So
we think
but
it
I've
was,
heard both.
it's either 50% or 20%. That's to get the money ahead.
but that's not going to hinder the project is my question. There shouldn't,
It should-
unless it's astronomically above what the grant is and then, right.
But the town has to agree to fund it.
It's all going through the Green Oak Elementary.
So
and
last night we were told that
That
the
was
project was completed.
that the original project was completed, however, the board of selectmen, we authorized that committee back in the fall to work on the HVAC project itself. So the budget, the previous project, phase 1 was gone.
There's still money in
There's
there.
still money.
So there's a new committee that basically.
They put back in the general fund.
Focus
But
on
there's-
HVAC.
But there's still money in phase 1. And bathrooms were part of phase 1.
Yes.
So there's no reason why that 105 could not have come back.
I will have to get some information for that.
I don't think anybody.
I don't think anybody does.
I mean, I think it's some phone calls this week to get some clarification.
We've been talking about it for 2 years. Anything else on the budget, Robert? All right, thank you. Oh,
Just
sure.
say for the May 1st meeting is that there cannot be any changes to the budget to
Increase.
increase it. It's just to have community members come to decrease the budget. So there's no way to add to what we have now.
Correct. All-Star contract?
The All-Star invitation expires the end of this fiscal year. The board, finance committee, for the concept of either going down to bid or going and renegotiating directly with All-Star. Typically, we go through the bid process. The average increases that most districts are finding in their own bid at this time for the last 2 years is about a 10 to 15% rates. All-Star was able to give us a much lower percent increase for next few years by just negotiating with them. So we felt it was more advantageous to do this, to just negotiate directly with All-Star. I did have a direct conversation with another company. They said, it's not even worth them bidding out on it because they would be about a 18% increase over what our current rates are. And the way that the education companies are, once you have a footprint in a district, it's very hard to get another again. So I'm recommending that the board adopt the All-Star contract as negotiated. That's to the
How are they doing with drivers?
they have just enough drivers to meet the needs. There's been more of an issue on the after school runs. We don't have the additional drivers that are needed to run athletics for the middle school and some high school sports. Just that's the case with every town that we face.
And I think I remember somebody saying, if it was you or Mark, that they are competitive in their salaries for bus drivers.
Yes, yes.
And I'm not sure if I remember somebody saying benefits as well, but I think that they were trying to entice
Yes.
drivers. Any questions on the contract?
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
Motion to adopt the proposed All-Star contract for the years 2023 to 2028.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Motion carries. Promotion ceremony and OHS graduation date, OMS promotion ceremony.
Typically wait until mid-April to do the recommendation for education to set the actual date for the middle school promotion ceremony and high school graduation. We really want to see when the last day of school is going to be. It's 1 year unless it's a major.
Don't even say it. We have, don't even say it.
Never gonna happen.
We had a hurricane or tornado. Which one was it? Tornado.
Unless something happens, the last day of school is going to be around 13. And we call sheets graduation day too. But I'm proposing that the middle school promotion ceremony be the afternoon and the high school graduation take place in the evening of June 12th. And that gives us the grade date of the 13th as a backup if we need to move it today. It's worked the last few years having the ceremonies at the same location on the same day. Maybe that's that not our boss is great, but we use the same stage, the same set of staff, set up. So it's worked very smoothly the last couple of years, and we're proposing that we did the same thing this year.
Can I just, for the graduations, I know they, the parents, the kids they like the poppers on the field. From my understanding, it takes a very long time to clean that up. I know I've heard stories of football players for the next several days are picking it up by hand as they walk along the field. Is there any possibility to consider a different form of, or something that's easier to pick up?
Well, it's a good thing that the high school principals are here this evening. We can charge them to look into an alternative.
You're still here, Anthony.
I just came for this.
We could have emailed you this.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I don't even know what else. I was thinking, you know how you couldn't, that they used to throw bird seed or whatever, but that would make it, the mess even worse if it was bird
It's
seed.
tough. It'd be about the same. It's that hard.
That would be good. But it's a point well taken. Or every kid needs to leave, we give them a bag and every kid needs to leave with,
Whatever they can.
you know, pick it up, I don't know. Central activity funds,
We're gonna do a motion to.
oh, we have to approve it? Okay, go ahead, motion.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to
There you go,
set
Anthony.
the Oxford Middle School and Oxford High School graduation date to be June 12th with a rain date of June 13th.
Okay, good.
Second.
At Oxford High School. At Oxford High School, we can add for further discussion and all those in favor, opposed, or abstain, motion carries.
Who seconded that?
Joe did. Yes. Dr. Miller, report?
Asking for
Central.
Oh, geez, I am off my game. I'm sorry. Central Activities Fund, approval of press boxes for softball and baseball fields.
The athletic director has requested that 2 press boxes be installed, one behind home plate of the baseball field, one behind home plate on softball field. Those press boxes would be multi-uses, both during the season as well as storage that we do not have available for recording equipment. Right now, it sits outside in the winter time, it's various in the elements. We went out and got several different quotes. One was a hydrant quote, one was the quote that I'm presenting today. And then the third was purchasing the sheds from Home Depot and then retrofitting that acoustic to it. So we're proposing that this evening, we authorize $15,000 from the Central Activity Funds, which were designed to support the athletic funds for the high school to enhance and support the athletic fields and property over there. These are the same funds we used last year to bring the water to the field. This would still be a balance of around $14,000 in that same account for athletics or future as well.
Do you have a question, Joe? 15. Second, someone?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or further comments? And, you know, just to be clear, this is the money that it's generated through tickets and we don't pay to play anymore,
Right,
but,
this is not through the general operating fund.
Right.
Activity funds are.
so this is actually money that's coming in and going back used for that purpose.
Exactly right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Let's see if I get this right now. Report of the superintendent.
Okay, the only thing that I'm really going to report on today are 2 things. One, this Friday night and Saturday is the final performances that we're going to see this year for the musicals. So we had a phenomenal performance in baseball. School performance about 2 weeks ago. And this Friday and Saturday, Friday is at 7 p.m. and Saturday at 2 p.m. The shows are at high school, not middle school. We need to work with our marks to make sure that there's seating in the stage areas. It doesn't allow the number of students involved in that seating that we need. So this show is actually at high school. We've got a former student that is actually directing the show, and we actually have high school students actually participating to coordinate and run some of that show as well. So it's a good collaborative effort. We do that for a great open high school, school that has students. So it just shows the coverage of the district, across the district, that teachers and students have to support each other. In the arts. From a safety perspective, I know there's a lot of questions about the trainings that we provide and those that we do. I can't overly speak on specifics that we do. That would not be something I we did have meeting with the board at our last session to talk about safety and security, at which time it asked me to improve the release date this year to do training with staff and girls. We are planning that, hoping communication will go out either tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday. We're looking at May 8th,
And also that, just from my previous life, each school plans out their drills. There's state mandated of the drills that you have to do, a certain amount of fire drills, certain amount of lockdown drills, certain amount of stay put drills. And in the winter is when you do your stay put and your lockdowns, because it's indoors, you don't have to worry about the weather. And, in the spring and the fall, you do your other drills. So I have confidence that the schools are following that. And we also have resource officers in each school. And if something was not being done or being done properly, I would think that's part of their purview to make sure that gets done.
Not only are they being done, but at the start of the year, we asked the school to give us. the
Yeah,
dates for all their
of course you do.
lockdowns. We have a lot of equipment there that the drill.
Right.
That are taking place, and we're required by the state of Connecticut to provide actual model of every single production team.
Right.
Not any after discussion of what needs to be done to correct actions that we look at those drills. Those are submitted to the state of Connecticut.
And the police are contacted in advance for every drill as well, because then you have, they give an assessment of things that went well, things that didn't go well, or things that you need to improve. So I'm confident that that's still happening. Anything else, Dr. Miller? No, mine, I think I'm on mine, right, Deb? Mine will be very short. He's not here today, but I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Oxford's favorite student. Ben Homewood is 21 today. And, most of us have watched Ben grow from kindergarten to the Connections program. I mean, not Connections, the Community Explorer program that he's in now. And we all love Ben and we want to wish him a happy birthday. That's my report. Facilities. Joe. You're good. Deb, curriculum.
We have a new course proposal that was attached to the agenda for special education unified arts. This is similar to life skills at high school. So it's attached to the agenda if anybody had any questions. I think it's a really great opportunity for the kids.
Yeah, the difference in this is that it's, well, what did you say? It's more, well, not necessarily, it's more like unified sports, except it's academics, right? Because it's life skills, right, in the way it's connected. And, just so that the discussion that we have at curriculum, that by approving this, we still had, and I don't know if you probably don't have it on the top of your head, some of the questions that we asked, like, how are the students going to be prepared, in order, because, playing a sport with a peer is different than trying to teach a peer how to do something. So I think there's got to be some pre-learning and pre-instruction that goes on with that, and recommendations. And I also think that there should be some kind of a parent component. I think the parent should know. She did have that. So I'm just saying that by approving this, it doesn't mean that, there's still things that the curriculum committee, and as we get that information, we'll give it to you guys. And we also then want to see, we want it to be guided, and we want it to be planned out, not just, you're going to plan a party and then how are you going to do the party? There's real skills that need to be, integrated and taught.
Skills that can be learned is an opportunity. The beauty of unified is bringing students of various different skills and abilities together.
Yep.
And that meshing together teaches those skills, so many of those students.
Of course.
Skills.
Yep. Nicole?
My only question was, how does the peer component work? So
Yes,
can a
it will be-
general ed student
that's
join
that's
this
who it
class?
is.
It is.
It is, and
Okay.
it'll be in the rotation of specials.
Okay.
So it would be, called the Unified Leadership Academy, and that would be part of it. Now, it's not going to be as high volume number. You're not going to have 20 kids in it, but so yes, that's the whole purpose of it.
Got it.
Did you want to say something? Anything else? You didn't do the motion yet.
No, so I'll make a motion to approve the Unified Arts Leadership Academy course.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? Motion carries.
And the other item that we needed to talk about was that we had discussion about increasing pre-K from, to a 5-day program. So we felt Megan, Dr. P came and gave us a presentation. And there's a number of schools, we're probably one of the only ones that does not have a 4 or 5-day pre-K. I think we were the only one, if I remember correctly. So we wanted to come to you tonight and make a motion to extend our pre-K program to a 5-day program.
And there's no financial addition to the budget for this, because their teachers are separated from these meetings. And already good conditions, it's just a matter of having students.
Yep. Seems smart. Do you want to do the motion? Yeah,
Motion
you-
to
it's gonna have
increase our-
Nicole do it since you're curriculum. Oh, sure.
Is that, maybe for the next meeting. I just read an article in the paper about career day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, just never mentioned or anything like that, so
Yes, we did.
He wasn't
You
here.
were-
Oh, we mentioned it. We talked about you. We gave you accolades. It was mentioned.
You were in Florida.
You were in Florida.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vic, again. Now you can hear it from us.
What my question is that we should have a small meeting with whoever, because what could we do to improve it?
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes, I can't start.
There's a joke in there somewhere,
Might
but
talk down to the free moment with the kids that we talk about, and it could be expanded like that.
right. So I think if Dr. Miller can contact Sylvia and ask her to, have a, what's that called?
Debriefing.
Debrief, thank you.
If anything, she should at least be following up with each of the vendors.
Yeah. What was good? What did you need? Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Vic.
Oh, yeah. One time I missed.
You can't miss any meetings.
So motion to increase pre-K to a 5-day schedule.
Second.
Second by Mike. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Uh,
Oppose or abstain? Motion carries.
We
Oh,
also,
motion carries.
sorry, and one of the other things that we mentioned was summer packets or summer learning. We always talk about, the summer slide, and
Mhm.
so Dr. Miller was going to talk when everyone was back after vacation, because we met during vacation, about a way to come up with some ideas for a summer program or summer learning for the kids, because we do see that summer slide. That was it. Thanks, Deb.
Nicole, anything policy?
We are meeting on Thursday, so we should have some new content for you guys at the next board meeting.
Mike?
No,
Your show.
no new data except to just highlight 780,000 deficit. The finance subcommittee has already met once this week to review possible cuts. The list is about 20, 30 line items for consideration. But there's no way to get around it. If the number stands and it does not get, and money doesn't get restored to the budget, there will be layoffs. There will be positions cut. The budget just can't absorb this hit after the amount of cuts we've made over the past 3-4 years. So that's where we stand.
So we need to go into executive session now.
Do you want to do any liaison?
Oh, are there any liaison reports?
Just PTO meetings, that was said. I didn't know, did you have any?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
So Judge, you want to just make a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah, make a motion, to go into executive session for the purpose of school safety and invite Dr. Miller.
All those in favor, Deb second. All those in favor? Opposed or abstained? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Night. For coming. Take care.
Can we do a quick bathroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
That-